What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. My name is Lucas Murphy, and ladies and gentlemen, the Kansas City Chiefs are somehow 0-2. Now, I think we can really dissect that, look at it from a big picture, really look at it from an overhead view. There's a lot of things that are going on with this team right now, whether it's, a suspension, injuries, the lack of ability to run the football. From a defensive standpoint, the ability to even sack the quarterback, apply pressure. There's just a lot of things that are going on. A lot of people are questioning the play calling. There really is just a lot going on with this team. And to say that the Kansas City Chiefs would start 0-2, it just is not something that you're used to saying as a Kansas City Chiefs fan within the last, I would even say, really the last 7 years. It's just not something that you would anticipate. And so now the Kansas City Chiefs have to continue to look forward. And I think that that's something that this team will do. I think that they have a lot of very good quality veterans. They have leaders in the locker room. They have one of the best coaches in all of football. They have the best quarterback in all of football. And they have the best tight end in all of football. And granted, he has made a few mistakes, but I think the fact that he will figure things out. He is going to make a statement, and I think this team will turn it around. And so that's why I'm creating this video today, to really provide you some insight. I think there are some trade opportunities, and we're starting to see kind of things separate. Now, I want to clarify. The Kansas City Chiefs, even though they are 0-2, a lot of people will tell you they still expect them to make the playoffs. They still expect them to make a run. This team is not going anywhere. Where some of these other teams, they were already expected to really have down years. They were expected. A lot of people have projected a few of these teams to really kind of have the top 5 picks in the NFL. And so they will have players that will be readily available, whether it's heading into this week or at some point to the closer to the trade deadline. So we're going to really identify some players that could potentially come and join the Kansas City Chiefs and maybe bring a boost. When you're playing on a team that really has been abysmal, the morale's down, there's a lot of things that are going on. If you instill that into a Kansas City Chiefs locker room, those guys are going to bring some fire. They're going to bring some passion. They're joining the Kansas City Chiefs. We saw it with DeAndre Hopkins. Granted, he didn't really pan out the way everybody was hoping, but we heard him talk about what it meant to him to join the Kansas City Chiefs. And he knew that there was a chance that they were going to make a playoff run, get to the Super Bowl, and they did exactly that. Now, they came up short, but he knew that he was joining a team like that. And that's also why he ended up signing with the Baltimore Ravens. He knows there's an opportunity to make a run. So a few of these players that we're going to be talking about, I really think you can honestly say that they are going to be potentially traded. And that's why I feel like we can talk about them. The first one is Tyreek Hill from the Miami Dolphins. We have a history with Tyreek Hill. And I do think that there's growing chatter that the Chiefs might pursue a reunion with Tyreek Hill. Now, how true are those rumors? It just really depends. I think there's a lot going on with the Miami Dolphins. They've reportedly stated they're not looking to trade him right now. He has, a salary cap, or I guess his contract can be very heavily loaded in the following year. So there's a lot of things that come with Tyreek Hill. Plus, there's a lot of off-field concerns, which us Kansas City Chiefs fans, we're kind of used to that with Tyreek Hill when he was spent his time here as a Kansas City Chief. So I think really there's a lot to go on. Now, they have started extremely slow. And when I say them, the Miami Dolphins, I think there's a good chance that Mike McDaniels gets fired, and they're just going to continue to kind of derail. And I think that it's just really the direction of the Miami Dolphins. There just seems to be a lack of success. They're already having team meetings in week 2. Which is just unheard of. And typically, J.J. Watt came out when he was on the Pat McAfee show, and he's like, if your guys are already having a team-only meeting in week 2, you might as well start booking your vacations for January. So I could see that with this team, and, it makes you really curious if Tyreek Hill is honestly going to be available and would be on the way out of Miami. I do think he would be a great fit here in Kansas City. We obviously have a lot of question marks at the wide receiver position. He's very dynamic. The speed has stayed pretty consistent. His ability to catch the football hasn't changed. And I think him joining the Kansas City Chiefs will really kind of bring a resurgence to this wide receiver room. We know that we're not going to have Rashee Rice for a little bit. We're dealing with some injuries. Xavier Worthy obviously has shoulder injury. And Jalen Royals obviously is dealing with a knee injury. We don't know the timetable on his return. Hopefully he can return in week 3. But again, that's a question mark. So adding a guy like Tyreek Hill to this wide receiver room would really kind of boost the morale. Now, the big question is that really what we need? I think this next player would be more of a need and would really fit this offense and really kind of boost the product that our offense is lacking, and that is Alvin Kamara, the running back from the New Orleans Saints. I think analysts suggest that Kamara could fit nicely with the Kansas City Chiefs. Someone could immediately add to the offense, especially with some of the Chiefs' receiver depth being impacted by injury and suspension, which we talked about. I think the fact that he would be able to provide you the ability to run the football, to catch the football, to kind of really provide something that we're lacking. His shiftiness, it's all still there. He is getting a little bit older. And again, we're talking about salary cap. Would he be able to fit into the Kansas City Chiefs? Would they be able to make it work? I do believe he's on a 2-year contract, so he has this year and next year. And so would they be able to really work him into the Kansas City Chiefs salary cap? I think that's a good possibility. It said that the age and the contract status might be trade costly. And really what the Saints may ask for draft picks could eat into KC's flexibility. But I believe that if you're adding him to this running back room, it would honestly boost what we are lacking. The ability to run the football, to take it out of Patrick Mahomes' hands when it comes to running the football. He's your leading rusher, ladies and gentlemen. He has to. He's scrambling. He's running for his life sometimes. And again, he has Mahomes magic, but he should not be your leading rusher week in and week out. And I've talked about this in videos. If that stays up, he's lowering his shoulder. He's taking contact. You don't want Mahomes to get injured. Otherwise, your season will fully be derailed. So the fact that we don't have the ability to run the football and you're forcing it into Mahomes' hands, you're getting close to injury. You're creating issues with the potential of that happening. So I think adding a guy like Alvin Kamara would be phenomenal. Now, kind of looking at the defensive side of the football, and I really think that this one is very intriguing. I would be interested to see if this is even a possibility, would be Jeffrey Simmons from the Tennessee Titans. He's a defensive lineman. He'd really be able to bolster that defensive front paired with Chris Jones. You would be able to almost disrupt the backfield with those two playing side by side. I think KC adding a pass rusher / defensive lineman like Simmons would help improve pressure on opposing quarterbacks. The Chiefs have had trouble in this area for sure, and it's just kind of been a consistent thing. I do think he's under a big contract, so salary cap again, and trade price issues could loom with this trade. But I think adding a guy like Jeffrey Simmons, who has the dog in him, ladies and gentlemen, he is a ferocity when it comes to playing the defensive line. He gets after it. He flat out gets after it. And I think him and Chris Jones together would just be something special to watch. I think those two paired together, they would almost bring out the best in each other. And then it's like, well, who are we going to account for? Are we going to double down on Chris Jones or are we going to double down on Jeffrey Simmons? You really would have to kind of game plan around that. Where now it's like, who do we really have to game plan for? Oh, it's probably Chris Jones. Everyone else, we can probably manage. So the fact that you could do that, I think would be phenomenal. Now, another one that is a potential, I don't know truly how relative this would be. It would be another weapon for Patrick Mahomes on the offensive side. And that would be like an addition of a David Njoku from Cleveland, a tight end. Now, some analysts have floated him as a possibility, longer-term replacement, or a complement tight end to really what Travis Kelce is. We know Travis Kelce's on the back end of his career, ladies and gentlemen. We know that he's potentially on his way out. This could be his last year. And really finding his replacement. We really haven't seen a whole lot of our tight end room outside of Travis Kelce this year. They just have not targeted him. We brought in guys like Robert Tonyan, and he just has not contributed in the way that I think a lot of fans have anticipated. You know, he didn't initially make the team. He was able to make the practice squad. He was selected off the practice squad once Rashee Rice went on the suspension list. And we really just haven't seen a whole lot of contribution. Now, David Njoku would be a phenomenal addition to this offense. I think the fact that you would have to account for him and Travis Kelce in a double tight end situation, he would come in, he would have longevity, he would be able to play, and I guarantee you he would be motivated. And so I really think that that would be a great addition. Now, what are the possibilities? We don't know, because the Browns may not be looking to trade him. And again, it all depends on what we're going to talk about next. What makes these trades likely versus unlikely? Again, injury, suspension weighing on depth. So with Rashee Rice's suspension, Xavier Worthy's injury, KC has less receiver depth than ideal, and that increases the likelihood they may try to add someone. Now, cost and cap space. So big names like Hill and Simmons come with big contracts. The Chiefs will have to balance short-term gain versus long-term cap and roster health. We've seen us sign, a lot of our guys to long-term deals. That is going to hinder the cap as we continue year after year. And obviously the salary cap will anticipate to continue to grow, but the fact that these guys still come with heavy contracts, it's something that they would have to consider. Timing, I think, is another factor. It's a really, really important factor. It's still so early in the season. I've talked about this on multiple channels. The fact that this is only week 3, and really, are we going to see big trades this early on in the year? I don't know that that's going to happen. Teams are just more reluctant to trade big pieces before they know how their season is going to go. A team like the Tennessee Titans, yes, granted they have started slow, but they have a very up-and-coming quarterback in Cam Ward. They still potentially have the chance to win the AFC South. And so a team like that may not be more reluctant to trade a guy like Jeffrey Simmons when they could turn their season around. I definitely don't believe that that is going to happen with the Miami Dolphins, and I 100% believe that the New Orleans Saints are not going to turn around their season. Cleveland, on the other hand, they play in a very tough division. They are very kind of top-heavy in that division. And so, again, would they be reluctant to trade a guy like David Njoku, who could really provide a young quarterback in the future an option? So, again, that's something to think about. Now, fit and age. Patrick Mahomes is still elite. He will be turning 30, and he still has plenty of time to play. But then you got to think about some of the receivers are older, past their peak. I don't believe Tyreek Hill's past his prime. I think he still has a lot of juice, a lot of things to offer. It's just, again, it comes down to that contract. So KC might prefer younger dogs or players who can catch and stretch the field. And that's something to take into consideration. So I do think that that's going to be this video. I appreciate you guys checking it out. Let me know down in the comment section who you would be interested in trading for. There could be a lot of opportunities. I did just mention one running back. I think that's going to be the primary focus, is going to be the running back position if they were to make a trade. I think they anticipate a lot of their wide receivers to come back, and it'll really boost this offense, and it'll change the dynamic of this offense once they start getting their guys back. I think the running back room is going to be the primary focus. So let me know down in the comment section who you would be interested in. Make sure you guys smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I end every video the exact same way. Have a good day.